let's stay here on the politics. I'll go back to the lighter stuff. On The View, when they got mad at you with the camp, when Sonny
I don't think they got mad. I don't think Sonny got mad. I think people get confused. I think they're being told a false narrative. They're being told that I campaigned against Miss Abrams.
Right.
I didn't.
Well, you didn't.
I
you endorsed
for her the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
And the second time started with her and was willing to, but her campaign wasn't willing to take my advice. I thought that I just thought that there were a couple of points they could have tightened. They didn't see it my way, so I just got quiet.
Right.
I didn't, the Kip becomes governor. I'm going to have a relationship with my governor. My grandmother had a relationship with our mayor. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was a regular church woman, head of one of the leaders in our MPU. If she had a complaint about the garbage, she was going to get straight to the city council or the mayor's office. So for me, that's not something you turn down. When you get the olive branch to speak on the behalf of your community and have ear, then you take that. And you take the shots that come with it. Now, I'll take the that you really don't agree with me on that's based on truth, but I can't take a lie. And to say that I supported or campaigned against Ms. Kemp would be a lie.
You mean
to say I did not support or campaign against her would be an absolute lie.
Right.
The day you say, well, he has a relationship with Kemp, absolutely I do. Absolutely.
And that's something to be proud
value
of.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
I always tell people that I have your cell phone number in my phone and Governor Kemp's cell phone number. I think that's the coolest thing.
And we both answer.
Humble brag.
Yeah, like he actually answers. You know?
Yeah, right. He does. He does. And then he sends you back to chopping emoji. But on The View, when that happened on The View, you said there was they asked you about Biden, right? So I'm asking about Biden now. Your answer was there were certain issues that I need to hear him address. But I don't know if they cut or if they went away to a commercial. I never heard it. Can you tell us what are those issues that you would need to hear from either Biden or Trump or anybody running for?
I'd say both.
Both.
I think that, and I'm not going to, because there's a trigger word called reparations now. But I'd say let's pick up with Dr. King's Operation Breadbasket and the Poor People Campaign. Because in the last 2 years of his life, he talked about land grants. He talked about government assistance and funding in terms of helping us be a more independent people. And I'm talking about black people, and I'm also talking about the worker class in the South. There are people who are destitute in poverty in the lower Appalachian Mountains. There are people who are destitute in poverty in North Georgia. And those people ain't black.
Right.
But technology and advancements that are helping and aiding Atlanta should be helping and aiding North Georgia as well as South Georgia.
For my listeners that may not know, explain briefly, Operation Breadbasket and the Poor People's Campaign. Dr.
King pivoted out of what would be considered just racial politics, and he never was. He was fashioned that way. He had an agenda of opposition to the military-industrial complex, which we still hear about today. And no matter how you feel about the military, I think every man and woman who serves this country deserves. They deserve 0% home loans. They deserve the best of health care. They deserve everything for the sacrifice they've made. With that said, we should not take enjoyment on sending 18 years old to die in the name of political agendas. We have to end that. And I think that Vietnam showed us the brutality and the horror of that. And I think we wish not to return to that. So I would say, with that, and there's some, so with him opposing that, he also was for what we need. Because a lot of kids go to the military, they ain't got no money, they ain't got no way.
And that's why they're going.
Yeah, he was for fixing what was wrong with money in terms of everyone having opportunity. He was in terms of black people had not been allowed to use their GI loans. Black people had not been able, they've been redlined out of proper loans for housing. The first, people say wealth in this house in this day, they think about billionaires. Wealth isn't being a billionaire. Wealth is your grandmother has land to leave to you. Your grandfather has land. But if you're never allowed to acquire it, how do you get the chance to fully participate in the dream that's America? So when Dr. King talked about that, he talked about economic fairness as well. And that he was not talking socialism.
Right.
Land grant is not socialism. Land grant is not socialism. A land grant is you get granted this land, you get government subsidy and support. This is the way we support. And then you turn this, you sell this back to government or the other companies at this price. You know what I mean? You get an opportunity. When I look at what a brother like Maya Bailey has been able to do on a microcosm with owning a building on Peter Street, you know what I mean?
Who's Maya Bailey?
Yeah.
No, who is it?
Maya Bailey's a famous tattooist here. He's an artist here. He's a hell of a brother that put his shop in a part of town that you wouldn't want to get caught dead in at one point. Now it is one of the most lively nightlifey parts of West Atlanta there is. You don't have to go all the way up to Buckhead. If you live in the West End, you can take an 8-minute drive. You're at Maya Bailey's shop getting a haircut. You're at his library reading. Getting a tattoo. You're at his library reading, having drinks, and it's right there. It's within the community. Economically, it made sense. Artistically, it made sense. Your kids who go to school now over at Morehouse and Spelman have somewhere to go that isn't dangerous for them. So Maya is just he proves Dr. King's economic theory right, that if given any opportunity, these people too are good business people. These people too add to the ecosystem. It's what Maynard understood. So I would say for either of my presidents, whoever becomes president and like whoever's governor, what can you do economically to give us an opportunity? That doesn't mean you give me my way. That doesn't mean you subsidize the rest of my life, but I deserve a fair opportunity. I would say, what can we do to make better schools? America has two weird-ass different history systems. We talk about Frederick Douglass as somehow he's separated from the American history system, and we only bring them together around Abraham Lincoln and his death day and his birth. I'm just like, this makes no sense. Frederick Douglass should be a hero in every household in America.
Right.
It should be. He said something else one time I had never thought of. It was significant. He said, America has Haiti to thank for having the rest of America essentially. It was like what? It was like after he kicked the French's ass in 1804, they went ahead and sold Louisiana cheap.
Right.
Every
Real
Louisianan should know that. Right. Everybody who cheers LSU, everybody who eats at the Bayou should know that, because the way you end hate and prejudice and bigotry is not to tell people you're hateful, you're prejudiced, you're a bigot. It's to add examples to them that are all inclusive of everyone, where everyone has been a part of it. That's why when you talk about your favorite basketball player, I don't say my white basketball player, just who's my favorite.
Right.
Like, yes, you can't tell me Bird won top 3 and wouldn't have been. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we could take a little from our sports minds in that.
Add it to the political minds and social.
Absolutely.
Cultural.
To political and social.
So,
I think politically we're screwed because the people who have office a lot of time have their own self-interest, and we're not as interested as we should be. But I think if we take less of a sports approach in terms of which team we're on, and more of a sports approach on, I'm just with the players that make the game better.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hated Boston for what they did to the Hawks, but I couldn't hate Bird.
Right. I'm a Celtic fan from when I was a little kid, and that's because they had
strange being from New York.
Yeah, no, what it's
they had
strange.
The first black player, right?
They had the first black player. That's why I'm a Celtic fan to this day.
When I found that out, Zeke told me that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
The Celtics was like, yeah.
And for many years, that's why in New York, if you're the man who taught me sports, if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, when the Celtics got that black player, you were a Celtic fan.
Wow.
Going forward, and that's who taught me sports. But you said something that I want to go back to, because Biden or Trump, you talked about education, you talked about these programs. Do you think either one of them can, because you use the term reparations, and I know you don't mean reparations because it's a scary term, no, even though we know neither one of them would use those terms, but do you think the country is in a...
I personally believe black people are deserving of reparations.
That's your personal, right.
Yeah, my personal belief.
Everybody or just descendants?
No, I'm about to make descendants of people who's like, I know who owned my father's family. Right. My father's family was owned by Crawford Long. There was a guy that made a joke. He since apologized to me, but not for that joke that I look like this smiling under a plantation something in the governor's office. And I think to myself, first of all, you're intelligent. So if I had the opportunity to get you in front of your governor's office, I would like that, because I believe you was intelligent.
This was African American that said it.
Yeah. But beyond the joke that was ha-ha moment, I actually am. I'm standing next to Crawford Long's picture. I know for a fact he owns my family. My aunt had told me folklore all over the years that we were on and genetically connect with them. And then the author called me out of nowhere, says, I want to let you know something, that you're connected to this person and genetically. I said, thank you, Mom. I'd already told me that since I was 3, right? So I know this to be fact. So the joke that you're laughing at is a joke to you, but I know who I am. Right. I know exactly who the I am. Right. I know who my great-grandmother on my mother's side. I knew her mother was, Pearlie Mackey. I know Pearlie was born enslaved. I know who Pearlie's mother was. I know why Pearlie can read, because her daughter, my great-grandmama, taught her. I can tell you the port that my great-grandfathers father's father came in through South Carolina, which was near where my wife was born. So I know exactly who I am. So you're absolutely right. You believe I deserve goddamn reparations. I know who owned me.
Right.
So whether it's from the family who owned me or whether it's from the United States government, which allowed it, but do I ever think I'm going to get it?
Do you think it's...
I'll give you this. Robert Johnson had an amazing plan to just add a 2% tax or take a 2% tax. Robert Johnson, the billionaire.
BT.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, not Robert Johnson. Robert Smith. Robert Johnson was BT. Robert Smith is just billionaire, millionaire, married to a Playboy playmate. He's like every black guy's dream, right? Every rapper's dream. So
I'm getting married to a Playboy playmate.
But he proposed a 2% corporate tax that would pivot into our community, which is when you think of 2% of the billions that moved through this economy, I think it was genius. The shame of it all is that we don't take him seriously enough, and we take the protesting class so serious that we won't get them in a room together to say, what was this look like? I would like to see Robert talk with Yvette and Antonio, talk with my other man, what's my man, FBA, Tariq, and in Cobra, whoever's been working on it. I'd like to see him get in the room and him to say, oh, well, as a billionaire, I've dealt with this. This is not only what we should do, this is what we could do.
Right.
And I'd like to see it settled in the next 5-10 years.
See, the problem that I have on reparations is a purely selfish one, right? Because
you're not American either.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So my family's from Jamaica.
I just sounded like everybody on Twitter.
Right.
Y'all just saying that like, well, yeah, you're not.
right. Yeah, my family's from Jamaica. That's where our family goes back to.
I believe the UK.
Yeah, I don't get a dime.
I believe the UK owes. But
I have to get mine from England.
But your woman is from here, though, right? No.
Yeah.
Damn, y'all just some foreigners.
Right, we're foreigners. We're immigrants.
Well, yeah, well, God bless. I ain't
Speaking of which,
but I do believe Portugal, Spain, France, England, Belgium. I believe. You know, you just got to make it. You got to give me something.
So that becomes a question.
But what I would say from these two presidents is you would be, or either who's going for president, you would be wise to figure out how to help strengthen the economic plight of African Americans in this country.
And poor whites?
And poor whites. I'm for the worker class.
Right.
But the reason I say black people in this country is because and I said this years ago, and the head of the feds ended up saying this too, when the black economy does better, the entire country does better. From an economy standpoint.
Right.
So you investing in the black and working class, beyond black working class, is just going to make a better economy for us all. You sell more Fords and Cadillacs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You sell more houses with 3 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms. If you make sure people are doing well economically, there's no reason that we can't make a 2-people household a household in which a family can be raised. Mm-hmm. There's no reason that the most menial of jobs cannot have a decent salary that, in combination with a partner, that cannot raise decent, clean children who believe that I can accomplish. Like, I didn't have Jordans in school.
Right.
I didn't have Jordans to way after high school, but I had clean shoes.
Right.
And I liked the shoes I had. They were ones I picked out. But I understood economically as a kid, if my mom gave me $150, I could buy a pair of shoes, a jeans, and a jacket for $150, or I could buy 1 pair of Jordans. So as a kid, what's the economic decision you think I made?
The jacket, jeans, and shoes.
That's all.
It's interesting because it goes back to what you said earlier in the conversation about growing up in that ecosystem, because conversely, you know, I grew up in a different ecosystem.
Yes, I do.
You know what I mean? Where I was in Harlem, so I knew about the Robesons and the Langston Hugheses, and I lived in the same building with the bank president who was black. So I saw that, but then I went to private schools, and so it was more well-rounded. But it seems to me, if I had to do it all over, well, I can't. But if I was raising a child,
what does well-rounded mean?
Well-rounded means is that I was able to see at an early age, literally, it was the content of character. Because I grew up in Harlem where the numbers guy also had a shoe shine stand on the corner of 149th and St. Nicholas. So I passed him every day, taking numbers, collecting from the runners, and then shining shoes as we were coming home. But as I turned the corner, I also got on a train to go to school, private school, with the banker who lived in my building,
Yeah.
and the lawyer who lived around the corner in the brownstone. So, but then when I got to school, I was also hanging out with, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant white kids
Yep.
who lived on Park Avenue and Jewish kids who lived on the Upper West Side.
Yep.
So it was well-rounded. I literally was able to see that, okay, there is not one general human being. You have to take everybody. I was forced to take everybody in, as an individual. But I think in where we are today, I almost, if I was having kids right now, I'd want them to be raised in an Atlanta.
Well, the advantage you have, I remember.
But this becomes a question, though. I'd like them to be raised in Atlanta. Do you think gentrification is taking away the Atlanta that you were raised in?
It doesn't have to. Like what you had in growing up in Harlem, like some Harlem dude was bragging about me to Harlem one time. He was bragging about Harlem, and I said, yeah, it's kind of like Atlanta if y'all was a city and not just a part of Manhattan.
See, that's cold.
That was
Why would you say that? That's cold. That's cold.
I killed it.
That's cold.
I killed it.
But we got 5 boroughs.
But you do. I respect it. But Atlanta and Harlem share a unique intangible. They grow confident black children. If you look at Cameron the rapper, Cameron had been a successful rapper. He done went to war with Jay-Z and 50 Cent to survive.
Yeah.
He took $250,000 of his own money with Mace. It started the most popping news network right now for sports. It is what it is. There's a certain confidence that it gives you because the failure and successes you see look like you.
Right.
So you start to understand failure and success can be a mixture of choice and opportunity. Am I choosing the right choices to get the right opportunity? Mm-hmm. And I eventually got around white folks. By the time I got 14, 15 years old and became an organizer, I was around white kids. Man, my girl Sarah Gottlieb, Sarah Boyd, was Lisa Farrakhan, organizing 3 of the most middle-class white women I ever knew. They taught me about everything from Nirvana to veganism. They were my dear friends, and they also organized with a bunch of kids who were also in the Crips and the Gangster Disciples, and it never bothered them. They saw them and treated them as human. And that's why I started to see content and character matter, because when everybody was black, it was still some righteous people. But even more content and character matter, because what I started to see was there are people of good character outside of my color context.
Right.
So I think we have a similar experience in that Harlem is a microcosm in a borough. And in terms of me, it was Atlanta as a city. And I was insulated from insecurity until I was confident enough to know I was competent. And absolutely, I don't mind. I just bought my daughter a house in the Collier Heights. I don't mind that the end house on her street now is Cabral Rain's grandmother's house. It was a plot, just sat there forever. There's a white family moving in there, and I get it. But there's so many white families moving to the West, but it's still not more than the black residents that are there. Right. What I would encourage residents to do, before you put your Black Lives Matter sign to let them know you're cool. Right? Y'all know those days when you see the Black Lives Matter sign, you're like, they don't want to get their broken into. Right? I think you just go knock on your neighbor. Don't take your macaroni. They're not going to like it. Buy a pie from Kroger or something. And just go say, hey, we're your neighbors.
Right.
This is who we are.
Same thing you would do any place else.
The same thing you would do. But you have to understand, I'm moving to a majority. So I think it's important you get out in front of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's it. And know that Black History Month is not just for black folks. Right. It's for all of us.
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
And Juneteenth also.
Yep, absolutely.
And Martin Luther King Day.
All of it. It's for all of us, man. Use as many excuses you can to get to the barbecue.
I've advocated on my show that Juneteenth is actually a Republican holiday.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to push that as
because
a major.
I don't know. I mean, Lord knows. God bless Candace, man. I'm not taking King Day, any day the United States government allows me to get paid. My job still got to pay me, and I got the damn. Oh, I'm out. Juneteenth. I wouldn't give I was in a Klan mask. You know what I mean? Juneteenth, you got to do that's Americans. We got to take advantage of all the advantages.
The whole day.
Yeah.